Hey, how is it going? Welcome to the live stream. My name is Seth and this is Mile High Firebird. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for coming by tonight on this Tuesday at 7:30. I just want to welcome you to the live stream. Again, my name is Seth if you're just coming in. And what's this channel about? This is this channel is about banner towing, is about airplane fairing, but in general, I like to come on here and talk to you guys about the jobs that I like and I think are the coolest for getting through your hours, for building hours, for being, right on top of getting into a commercial job right out of your training. And that's what we talk about here. I look for the coolest jobs like banner towing, airplane fairing, all those things. And we talk about it. We go through it on this channel. So thank you guys for being here. I just want to, again, welcome you for being here. My name is Seth. And if we're first meeting, and hey, you know what? Let's start this off with something crazy. I don't know if you guys heard or not, but there was a plane crash today in LA. Not that long ago, actually. Let me show it to you real quick. Here's just a screenshot. Basically, plane crashes on a busy freeway in Southern California. And I don't know if you guys heard about this, but it literally just happened a couple hours ago, or maybe not even that long ago. But basically what happened was this guy was coming in and he ran out of gas, or his engine failed. Sorry, he didn't run out of gas. His engine failed. And he came in and he picked a spot on the freeway that didn't have any cars, and he put it right there, right in the middle of the freeway. And as you can see from this picture, that plane is done. It was a World War II plane. Kind of looks like it was shot down, like it was 1946 all over again, or whatever. So yeah, look at that thing. It's just burnt to pieces. I mean, it's really sad. So he was fine though. He got out. He had no issues. Thankfully, he walked away, and nobody got hurt. So really, really good job on that pilot for getting that thing on the ground safely and getting out of there and being completely unharmed. So I just thought I'd throw that out to you guys real quick since it literally just happened, and I thought we'd talk about it just for a quick sec. So, okay, so what are we here for today? Tonight, we are going to talk about building your confidence when talking to ATC and when talking on the radio in general. This has kind of been on my mind a little bit. I've actually seen a couple of people posting in different Facebook groups that were concerned about, hey, how do I get better on the radio? How do I build my confidence? We're going to talk about that tonight. So I just want to, again, welcome you guys to the live stream. And I already introduced myself. I'm Seth. This is Mile High Firebird. Hey, if you can, do me a favor and crank that like button, just like you'd crank the starter on your Cessna. Crank that like button. That actually increases the engagement, and other people will see it because YouTube will help put it out. If they see interaction with the video, they see that as, hey, this is an important video. Let's send this out to as many people as we can. And the videos that I'm making are to help people. And so let's see if we can help some other people learn how to get better on the radio and learn how to talk to ATC with confidence. So share with another pilot. If you're a student and you're in your training and you know somebody who is maybe struggling with ATC or talking on the radio, share this live stream with them. And then this will actually be up afterwards. After the live stream is done, it will get uploaded so you guys can go back and watch it, or you can send the link or even leave a comment below after the video has posted. So if you're new here, just want to ask if you're interested in this content, if this stuff is entertaining to you, consider becoming a subscriber. I'm posting once a week, trying to do a live stream once a week. I didn't post this week. We'll get into that in a bit. But this week we're doing the live stream on Tuesday instead. So would love if you guys follow me on social media. As you can see there, Mile High Firebird on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then as you see in the lower right corner, let's see if I can work this out. You see that subscribe button? It's white with a red triangle. All you have to do is click on that while you're watching this live stream. Click on that, and then it'll bring up a little pop-up window. And if you're new and you haven't subscribed, you can hit the button and subscribe. You don't even have to leave the screen. So I thought I'd show you guys that. That's a pretty cool little tool that that YouTube has come up with. So that is that. And if you are a subscriber, thank you for coming back. You guys are awesome. You're an amazing fan base. You guys are the reason why I get up and I do this, why I go online, why I post stuff. So I really appreciate you guys being here. You're a great group of pilots. Thank you very much for contributing, and thank you for being here. So, okay, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about this live stream real quick. Before I jump into that, let me encourage you guys to jump in the chat. If you guys are interested, as you can see here on screen, I've got a couple of things that I posted here. I'm looking forward to your questions. If you guys have questions, we're going to do a Q&A session at the end. Last time we did a great Q&A session. Everybody who tuned in, thank you for coming by. And we had lots of questions, and I was able to engage with you guys directly. And that's what I'm looking for. I want to be able to answer your questions, and I want to be able to talk to you guys directly. And this is the way we do it right here in the live chat. So you guys will be able to see this afterwards. If you're watching this on the rebroadcast, if you're watching this a year from now, you can post a comment below for the video, and I will see it, and I will respond and get to you guys your question, probably within a couple hours. So yeah, do that. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation here. So topics of the day, what are we going to talk about? Well, we are going to talk about what I mentioned earlier, how to become more confident on the radio, and then how to overcome the fear of talking to ATC. All right, so again, who am I? My name is Seth, if you're new, and I'm a commercial pilot, and I have my instrument, and I also have my tail wheel, and I also have my multi-engine. I've been flying for a few years now. I've only been flying on the commercial level for, not quite a year. I've been actually banner towing, and I've been, in and out of airspace and doing all that crazy cool stuff. So I've gotten a lot of experience, which we'll talk a little bit more about in the presentation here. But I just wanted you guys to know more about me if this is the first time that we're meeting. And I want you to know that so that way you have a little bit more confidence in, in what I'm telling you. Not in the way that is like, I know everything and I'm an expert, because I'm not. Trust me, I'm learning new things every single day, and I'm doing my best to try and absorb material that I think maybe somebody else might be able to learn from. And I'm taking experiences. And hopefully someday when I'm 50 or 60 or 70 or 80, whatever, I'll be able to pass on a lifelong amount of knowledge to people who want to be pilots, because I love this thing. I love being a pilot. I love flying. I love everything about this job. And so, if we can continue to pass on the knowledge to other people who might be struggling, who knows, they might be the next Charles Lindbergh, or they might be the next, I don't know, pick somebody who's won an air race. I don't know that much about air racing, those kinds of things. So, you just pass those things on. So that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing here. And I really appreciate you guys being here. If you got questions, drop them in the chat, and we'll get to those at the end. Okay, so that's me. That's a little bit more about what I'm doing. Just a disclaimer, I'm not a CFI. I want you guys to know that. I am just a commercial pilot. I'm one beggar showing another beggar where there's a table of food. That is it. And so what I'm talking about tonight are my tips, what I've come up with. And you guys are more than willing to take those tips, pass them along, share them if you believe in them, if you think they're good information. But by no means am I teaching on a credited level. This is just me sharing some knowledge. So just wanted to say that. Okay, building confidence on the radio. What a big topic. All right, so as you can kind of see, I'll just go in and out of the screens here. Your worst enemy is self-doubt, okay? It's very, very true. You get on the radio and somebody says something. Let's talk about being at a non-towered airport first, where you're just in the traffic pattern and you have to talk to other pilots. And so let's say somebody is taxiing towards you, and you're getting ready to maybe go taxi as well, and he stops and he says, your tail number, and says, hey, what are you doing? You get nervous. You're just like, oh, I don't know, especially if you're new. This is also a good refresher and a good reminder for people who have maybe even not flown in a while, but you've had your pilot's license for 10 years or whatever. So I hope that you get value from that as well. But you get nervous, and the reason why we get nervous is because that social interaction with somebody that we don't know, it's very similar to, if almost not the same, feeling you get when you go into public for public speaking. You're at a conference or something for your job, and they call you on stage, and you are not prepared. And now you're on stage, and all these people are listening to you, and you're just like, you just close up, you get cold. So that self-doubt that we get is honestly the worst enemy, because remember, you're the person who's clicking the button. You're the one who says click, and then you say what you need to say. And so you got to click that button. You got to do it. You got to get through that self-doubt. You got to just push it. You've got to, understand what you're going to say, which we'll get to, but you just kind of, it's all inside. That's basically what I'm trying to say is that it's inside. You really need to build up that confidence. You need to know that your doubt and your self-doubt is probably why you're scared. And it's okay, especially when you're new. I remember when I first started, it was terrifying. It's such a crazy environment. Planes everywhere. You have 4 people in the pattern. You got one guy taxiing. You're taxiing. Your flight instructor's wondering what you're doing. If you can relate, hit it. Leave me a comment and tell me your story if you've had a crazy story like that. Let me know. So yeah, just want you to know that you got to talk about things that are maybe not so upfront. Like, for example, being or having that self-doubt. You gotta remind yourself of that and know that. Okay, so the next thing I would recommend is stepping out of your comfort zone. So let's dig into that a little bit. Wow, the first time I went to a Class Bravo airspace, it was terrifying. It truly was terrifying. I'm not kidding. However, after I did it, I felt different. It wasn't as scary. It was kind of more like, whoa, that was actually kind of fun. That was new and fun. And it made me want to step out of my comfort zone and go do it again, or go to another place. Like, for example, going to a Charlie airspace that's way more complicated than a Delta airspace, or going to a Bravo airspace, which seems to be a little easier, in my opinion, than like a Charlie, just because they have a system. It's just amazing. It's really amazing. ATC really impresses me. They do. They have a system. You go to LAX, there's an In-N-Out Burger next to LAX. If you live in Los Angeles, go to that In-N-Out Burger, get a sandwich, go outside and just watch. These planes are landing, and you time it. It's like every minute there's another plane landing. And if they have using multiple runways, then they have 2 landing at the same time. It's a cool place to just sit and get a burger, get a shake, and watch planes land. But if you look at the precision, that's probably the number one thing that I think about with ATC, the precision. You see plane after plane after plane landing, and it's almost like you could set your watch to it. That is impressive. ATC knows what they're doing. They have this system down, and it's great. Jumping into that, getting in the middle of that sounds really intimidating and really scary. But once you do it enough times, and the more times you step out of your comfort zone and you challenge yourself and say, I'm going into that Class B, of course you get clearance, then you will find it becoming a little bit more easy. So I want to challenge you to challenge yourself and go into other, if you've never been to a Class Bravo or a Class Charlie, do it and check it out. Oh, look, there you go. Challenge yourself to new things. Okay, so I pretty much already talked about that, so we'll move on for that. Learn the language of radio. This was something that I really want to stress. Hey, you go to another language, or you go to another country. For example, I went to Iceland in 2013, I believe. I can't remember. But I went to Iceland, and when I went there, they have this Icelandic language in Reykjavik, and it's like you listen to it and you see it, and it's just what? in the heck? It's so different. All these letters, it looks like somebody took alphabet soup, dumped it on the floor, and they all lined into this giant mess of letters. This is a crazy language. And I've heard it's one of the hardest languages. Anyways, the reason I'm bringing this up is because if you go to Iceland and you want to understand the people and you want to understand the culture, you learn the language. You familiarize yourself with the language. And then it doesn't become so intimidating. It doesn't become so crazy. Those are the things that I would definitely encourage for you. And you really should think about, all right, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this. But if you do it in a weird order, or you do it without really understanding the way ATC talks, then it's going to sound bad. You're not going to be confident in yourself, and you might run into trouble. Most ATC controllers that I've found are very patient, which is a great thing, especially when you're first starting out. Yeah, you know, you can really feel boggled down and overcome with all of this stuff when it comes to talking to ATC. You know, you guys have probably experienced it a little bit. You know, it's crazy. It's a very crazy world and very crazy environment, and it almost feels like you're on another planet, like Iceland. So I recommend get in the books, listen, and we'll get into a good technique for you guys to understand the language. But, you know, read and study. Okay, you're not going to be an ATC controller, right? You're a pilot. Get into an ATC book. Study controllers. Study how they do what they do and why they do what they do, and you will understand why they say what they say and why they make you do things that normally you'd be like, why do I have to do that? Why do I have to go out here, have a holding pattern, and come back? Well, because there was 3 jets that were trying to land. You know, you listen to the language, you start understanding more of their style and their technique, and you immerse yourself in their world. I highly recommend you learn their language, because you learn their language, not only are you going to understand more, but you'll be able to communicate better. It's just like any other place. If you want to learn a language from another culture, that's what you do. So you learn the language and you say what you need to say, and you'll be surprised. You cleared for landing, and that was it. It was no hustle, or it was no fuss. It was done. You said it, they communicated, you repeated the clearance, done. And you're like, wow, that went so easy. That was great. And then you feel confident. It builds up your self-esteem, and you feel like, you know what, I can do this. I'm not the only one here that, it's not too overwhelming for me. I can do this. So I recommend that you learn the language. I picked that little tip up from one of my old flight instructors. Nate, if you're watching, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. It was a good tip, and one that I hadn't thought of. So I just want to shout you out and say thank you for that. That was a good tip, and I totally 100% agree with that, and I hope somebody gets some value out of that. Okay, so moving to the next one. Grab a drink of water here real quick. Okay. Haste makes waste. I live by this, I gotta tell you. And be ahead of yourself. Hey, let's go to the chat. So haste makes waste. I'm sure you guys have heard that before, but the more times I get in an airplane, the more times I get on the radio, the more times I go fly somewhere, the more I realize that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That was said by, I believe it was Benjamin Franklin. And basically, if you think about it, if you rush through something, you're going to mess it up. In fact, I'm a perfect example. 2 live streams ago, I rushed through it. It didn't work, and I had to cancel it and then redo it. Why? Because I was in a hurry, and I was trying to get everything done at the last minute, and it didn't work. I failed. I wasted time. And so, if you can perfect your own schedule, if you can perfect your own methods and how you do things every day, when you get in an airplane, you will start to be more comfortable with the system, and you'll start to be more comfortable with talking to ATC and talking on the radio. When you're in the traffic pattern, let's say you're outside the traffic pattern, there's 4 airplanes, and it's just crazy. You're like, oh geez, do I really want to get in that? If you get in that, you're gonna have to make 4 or 5 radio calls, especially if you're gonna do a touch and go, You're going to get behind the airplane. Your checklist will probably suffer. You might forget to put the landing gear down. All that craziness. Just take a minute and say, okay, I'm going to fly over here by this VOR or whatever. And just take a minute, take a breath. You're not going to run out of gas. Just take a breath and think about what you're going to say, what you're going to do, and maybe let the pattern clear a little bit. Maybe 2 planes land, and now there's 3 or maybe 2 planes left in the pattern doing touch and goes. Now it's less crazy. Now it's less stressful. And now when you get on the radio, you'll be able to jump in there and you'll be ahead of the airplane. Plus, you gave yourself a mental break. And so what I'm saying is don't just rush into it. Oh, I got to go land. Well, no, you don't. Especially if you're flying with your instructor. Say to him or say to her, I think the pattern's a little bit crazy right now. I'd like to take maybe 2 minutes and go try some steep turns or something, and then see if the pattern just gets a little bit less crazy, so that way I can set up the airplane. I did this on a check ride once, and the examiner told me in the post-flight that he appreciated me taking the time to set time aside to get the airplane ready, but also get myself ready for the landing, and getting ahead of my checklist and making sure I check the weather, all those things that you're taught. And so if you have that system set up in your head, then you won't be tempted to jump ahead and skip a bunch of things. And so I really want to recommend that. Just remember, haste makes waste. Haste makes waste. It's so true, even when you're talking on the radio. And even when you're talking to ATC, if you say it really, really fast, they are going to repeat, say again, I have no idea what you said. What do you want? And they'll get frustrated with you. So take a breath, talk as slow as you need to. And if it's not working out, then, maybe go do a couple steep turns and come back and try again. So that's that. I definitely want to recommend that to you. Just remember, haste does make waste. Okay. Presentation. And be ahead of yourself. That was the other thing. But I kind of went through that. All right. Practice. That's a big one. Practicing, talking to ATC, and practicing on the radio is so very, very important. And the reason I say that is because anything that you do in life requires some form of practice. And if you can practice and you can get good at it, then it will come more natural. This is pretty much true with anything. If you practice your landings, you're going to get better. If you practice your flight plan, you're going to get better. If you practice doing cross-country flight planning at night in IMC with your instructor, whatever it is, then you'll get better at it. So the radio is no different. You really, really want to try and practice. If you're in school, if you're in classes, just pull somebody aside, and a good friend, and say, hey, I got a question for you. Are you willing to practice some, mock radio communications with me, where you pretend to be either a guy in the pattern, or I'll pretend to be a guy in the pattern, and you pretend to be ATC, and we'll just talk to each other. Let's say you are, living in a dorm, and you go to school with somebody that you live with, and you guys carpool. Hey, on the way home, or even on the way to class, either one, just say, I don't know, say Las Vegas, control or something, Las Vegas tower, and then give a tail number, inbound for landing, 15 miles out. And then he replies, okay, squawk, blah, 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 whatever. You come up with the dialogue. But come up with the dialogue and practice it with a friend. Just talk to each other like you're having a conversation. You might look kind of funny doing it at a coffee shop, and you know what? That's okay. Because if anybody says anything, you just say, hey, I'm just trying to get better at my job. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, who knows? You might attract somebody who comes over and they're like, hey, are you a pilot? Hey, I'm a pilot. Oh, where do you fly? You might have a conversation like that. So, but just practice. Really do. Practice your communication and your radio calls and study. And get to know them well, because they will serve you well. That is time that you will invest into your craft that will pay off. I promise you that. it will pay off, because when times get crazy, stressful, you're in airspace, there's weather, all that builds up and stacks on top of you. If you have gotten good and you've practiced and you're quick on the radio, then it's one less crazy thing happening, and it's one less distraction that you have to obsess about. So I just want to say that it is time well spent. Invest in yourself, practice and study the language and the words and the terminology and the flow of everything that you do when you're on the radio. Okay, so continuing on. Overcome the fear of talking to ATC. What does FEAR stand for? It's kind of funny. This is an interesting acronym. FEAR is false evidence appearing real. FEAR, false evidence appearing real. Think about that for a sec. It's interesting how we allow fear to control us, to get in our heads, and to just we make weird decisions or bad decisions when we have some kind of fear. And it's whatever is in your head and you're scared of is not permanent, and it's also not what am I trying to say? It's not the end of the world, but it's also not true most of the time. If you're worked up about something, or you are, bothered by the fact that you have to call ATC for a clearance or whatever, it's not going to be a crisis. It's really not going to be the end of the world. So it's false evidence in your mind. It seems like your reality. Your perception is your reality, so it appears real to you. False evidence appearing real. So I just want to share that with you guys. Nice little acronym for the word fear, and it really kind of breaks it down and helps you kind of dissect it when you notice in yourself, wow, what am I afraid of? What am I scared of? And then you remember that acronym, and it helps you work through that. Okay, so intimidation is a common struggle, but it diminishes with experience. That is something I've experienced quite a bit. I'm sure everybody has. You first get into your commercial training, or maybe even your instrument, which is really where the intimidation comes. You have 7,000 things going on. You have weather, flight planning, all that stuff. And you feel just like you can't do it, or you just feel that fear and that scared. Just know that it's common. It's not you. It happens. When I first joined the Air Force, I was sent to basic training. And you want to talk about fear and intimidation, I got hours. But I remember when I first got there, and it was a crazy, crazy, crazy first night. And it was like 3 a.m. We were getting yelled at and screamed at. I cut my face when I was shaving. There was blood everywhere. I'm going to pass out just thinking about it. But I remember after all that chaos, it was like 3.5 hours of crazy chaos. I laid in bed and I thought to myself, what did I get myself into? What did I do? And why? And over time, that went away completely. I stuck to it. I kept going, but the fear and intimidation was strong. It made me want to quit. I didn't want to do that anymore. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I don't want to be part of this. I'm done. But I was day one. You can't quit on day one, So I didn't quit, and I kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going. I learned the language. I practiced, all the things that I needed to do, and I got through it, and then it became really easy. And once it was easy, it was just like, wow, I can't believe I stressed about this so much. And you kind of laugh at yourself later on. The same thing happened to me when I was first becoming a pilot. I wanted to be a pilot so bad. I wanted to fly. That's what I wanted to do. Then I got in an airplane. This is a relevant story. I want you guys to hear this, because this was a kind of a critical moment for me. And I hope it adds value to you, and maybe you can relate. Let me know if you guys can relate. Basically, I got in, and I got in the airplane, and we took off, and I was excited. This is awesome. I'm flying. This is great. Of course, I wasn't flying. My instructor was flying. And then he got up. We went over to the stadium. We flew around the stadium. And then we went over against the mountains. This was in Colorado. And then we came back in, and I was listening on the radio, and I heard what I now know as the traffic pattern, and communicating in the traffic pattern, and talking to ATC and all that stuff. And I remember hearing him speak, and I said, wow, that is an insane amount of work and talking. Like, I was just this, you know, this young adult that was like, I just want to fly, you know, and not have any rules and not have any, you know, responsibilities. I just want to go fly, right? You know, you guys can probably relate. That's probably why you got into flying in the first place. You just wanted to fly. You didn't want to deal with all that stuff. But I remember hearing all that talk and all that busyness, and I thought to myself, I can't do that. That's way over my head. I can't do that. I was so intimidated by that. And so I almost said, no, I don't want to do this. This is too much. This isn't what I signed up for. Same thing as like it was in the Air Force. And so that intimidation was very real. And I almost guarantee you that everybody who first starts has that same kind of intimidation and fear. And so just know that if you feel that, it's not just you. Other people feel that too. You're not alone. I hope that encourages you a little bit. But hey, I made it. I didn't quit. And I've gotten to the point where I can share tips about talking to ATC on the radio with you guys, which if you went back that day and said, you're going to have a live stream one day on YouTube that talks about this, I would have laughed and said, are you kidding me? But it's what we're doing, you know? So, hey, Mike, thank you for your question. Thanks for stopping by the chat. I just noticed that you're in here. I'm going to get your question at the Q&A. Looks like a great question so far. Thank you for putting that in there, and I just want to shout you out, and we'll get to that. So thank you for asking that question. Anybody else who's listening? Anybody else who's here with me? Feel free to drop a question if you want to know something. And even if I don't know it, we'll talk about it, and I'll see if I can find an answer for you and maybe even get back to you. So drop a question in the chat, or just say hi. Actually, it's right there. Just say hi. Okay, continue with the presentation here. If you make a mistake, it's okay. Really, think about this for a sec. You will beat yourself up, right? You made a mistake. You said, for example, they told you to enter a right base for runway 11, and you entered in a left base. And the reason why you entered in the left base was because you were confused, and they got mad at you and all that stuff, right? You guys can probably relate. It's all right. It's not the end of the world. You are still flying that airplane. You still need to focus, and you need to get that airplane on the ground. That's your number one focus. Fly that airplane, fly that airplane, fly that airplane, right? Those are the three number one rules, as you know, as we've learned. It's very important. Don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up over a mistake. We've all done it. We've all done it. And so on the ground, if you beat yourself up over a mistake, well, okay, all right, well, you know, try again. But when you're in the air, it's way more important. Your focus can just go south really fast, which is why, you know, we talk about the hazardous attitudes. Don't give up. Don't resonate. You know, tell yourself, I can do this. I've got this. I need to land this plane. I need to do my job. So I just want to encourage you with that, is that if you make a mistake, it's all right. It's okay. You will fly another day. And if it was a big mistake, well, maybe it's time to land. Maybe it's time to call it a day, and then take the rest of the day off and try again tomorrow. Whatever you do, though, don't quit. And I just want to encourage you with that. But it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. You made a mistake. Yeah, ATC is not going to get mad at you. They got 1,000 other things to do. They'll move on. You can move on too. Okay, be humble, apologize, and never quit. And that totally ties into if you make a mistake. So, you know, honestly, be humble. You know, if you do make a mistake, let me just tell you a little secret. It is better for you to admit your mistake to ATC before they catch you, I guess you could say. Let's say same scenario. You turned a left base instead of a right base, and you knew it instantly, and you knew you made the mistake. Get on the radio and say, you know, I don't know. I'm just using an example. Las Vegas Tower, Cessna, blah, blah, blah. I made a mistake. I'm on the left base for 1-1, and I know you told me to be on the right base for 1-1. Can I get another entry into the pattern? Or can I exit the pattern and come back in on the correct? Whatever it is, just admit that you made that mistake, but be humble about it. Don't argue with ATC. You might be right, but let me just tell you, in that scenario, that person, the example I just gave, was wrong. But if there's a mistake that's made and you think it's their fault, don't argue with them. They are not in the mood. They have 1,000 things. If you ever watch or listen to what ATC goes through, they are busy, very, very busy. They have 1,000 things going on. They don't have time to argue with pilots about something that was dumb and irrelevant. You can always land and get on the phone and talk to them at another time, but that's not the time. So just listen to what they tell you, do what they tell you, be humble, don't argue, don't be like, I'm macho. You know, there's another hazardous attitude. Don't be macho, be respectful with ATC, even if you feel like it was their mistake. Doesn't matter. Be respectful, and I guarantee you 100% that scenario will go well for you, even after the mistake, because they will be more patient with you and they won't lose their minds with you and kick you out of the Delta, which I've heard of before. I've seen people get completely kicked out. Go somewhere else because you are being very difficult and we don't have time to deal with you. I've seen that happen. So don't be that guy. Seriously, don't be that guy. I really encourage you to just be humble and apologize. You know, say I'm sorry, I made a mistake. But again, don't quit. Never quit. Just keep flying that airplane, get that thing on the ground safely and get it tied down. And then you can make a phone call and you can call them and say, look, I understand I made a mistake. I apologize. I won't do it again. I'll learn from it. I'll talk to my instructor, whatever it is. Okay, so let me share a story with you. You know, if I'm going to tell you guys this, I should probably give you an example of how I made a mistake and what I did, my response. So my experience with ATC, I was scolded not that long ago. I made a critical error, but it wasn't critical. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, this plane's falling out of the sky. I just made a mistake and everything I thought was good. Okay, I won't get into all the details, but basically I was already talking to Class Bravo. I was in their outer ring and I accidentally crossed into the inner ring, which I'm already in the Bravo, but they didn't want me on the inner ring of the Bravo. And so I accidentally crossed into the Bravo and I knew it right away. I was like, dang it, I made that mistake. And so before I really had the chance, they got on the radio and they told me, hey, we don't want you in this inner circle. We don't want you in this inner ring. You're not part of the club. Because they were trying to get airplanes to take off. And it was where I was towing a banner. I could have been crossing over in front of their runway. I was still kind of a ways away, like 3 miles away. However, they were right. I did cross into the inner ring and I was already talking to them. So it's not like I busted a regulation. And they didn't want me in the inner ring. So okay. So I turned out and then I continued my day. Then when it was time to leave, I left and I thought everything was good. They handed me off all that stuff. And then I hear, I'm waiting for a frequency change approved. And then I hear my tail number. And I said, okay, yeah, go ahead for blah, blah, blah. And then it was some other dude who I'd never heard before, who sounded like he had a lot of, rank, I guess you could say. And he just lit into me. He just said, you're not supposed to cross into this. We want you on the outside ring. We want you working, if you're going to work the beach and you're going to do this, this is where you need to be. We can't have you. And he just scolded me. Like he lit into me. And I'm sitting there flying, just thinking, oh no, right? This was not that long ago. And I'm just like, oh, great. All right, well, and I was thinking about all these things that I just told you guys. Be humble, be patient, apologize, be respectful. So I got on there and said, yes, sir, I'm sorry. I made that mistake. It was an honest mistake. It was on me. I apologize for that. And I'm not going to do it again. And then he said, well, there's been other guys that have done it too in the past. And so, we're just kind of getting tired of it. And so I was like, well, that wasn't really my responsibility, but I was responsible for my action, what I did. So I told him, okay, well, it won't happen again. I apologize. And it just kept saying that until the point that he kind of got tired of hearing himself talk. And he said, okay, have a good day, frequency change approved. And he sent me on my way. And I thought about that all day long and all night long. And I was just beating myself up about it just a little bit. But then I realized, you know what? It's not a big deal. I landed, everything was fine. I didn't get a phone call, which I thought I might, or I getting, some kind of frequency or not a frequency, a phone number to call, but none of that happened. If I had argued with him though, that would have gone worse. And that's the point that I want to illustrate. Be humble. Admit you made a mistake, because that could have been way worse. I promise you. If I would have told him off, or if I would have said something like, blah, 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 or whatever, that would not have gone well. And it would have caused a lot of issues and a lot of problems. And I would have got a call from my boss, and I don't want that. And it would have just not been good. So whatever this situation is, just remember, ATC is trying to do their job, and they have a reason behind it. The reason is I could have crossed in front of, another airplane trying to depart. That's a pretty good reason for me to not be there. So he was 100% right, and I was not going to argue with him. So I just want you guys to know that I've been through that, and I can share that experience with you, and that I put my money where my mouth is. I wouldn't say these things to you if I hadn't already been through it once or twice or whatever. So that's what we're gonna go with, and hopefully you guys are getting some value out of that. Hey, if you guys are just joining me, my name is Seth. This is Mile High Firebird. This channel is about banner towing, cool pilot jobs, good ways for pilots to get ahead of the, getting behind on your hours can feel intimidating. The 1,500 hour rule is quite a daunting rule. You graduate with 250 hours and you need to get to 1,500. How do you do it? You can be a flight instructor, but you don't have to be a flight instructor. You can be a banner pilot, which is what I'm doing, and I absolutely love it. It's a great job, and I want to share it with you. So that's what this channel is about. If you guys are enjoying this live stream, hit the like button, the big fat thumbs up for me. I really appreciate that. And then follow me on social media, which you guys can see all my social media things right here, and the ticker that's going below. And then consider becoming a subscriber if you're not one. If you are a subscriber, thank you for coming back. All right, we're talking about how to talk on the radio and how to be confident with ATC. So we are going to continue along. Ooh, this is a good one. All right, think about this. Everything that we've talked about so far is challenging, is not easy. It can be overwhelming. But I want to share something with you. How do you make a sword? And you're probably asking yourself, really, how is this relevant? What does a sword have to do with anything? Well, think about this. If you want to make a sword, you have to put metal in the fire. You take a chunk of metal, you heat it up, you pound it with a hammer over and over and over again. You put it back in the fire, you bring it back out, you pound it over and over and over again. It's a long process. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's a painful process. Going in the fire and being pounded that with a hammer, that's painful. But when it is all said and done, what do you get? You get a sword. This sharp, pristine, gorgeous instrument that can do amazing things, that can cut through things so perfectly and so precisely that you wonder, how? How is that thing so gorgeous? How does it do it? You are no different. That sounded weird. You are no different. You have to go through the fire. You have to get, hit with the hammer. You got to get beat up. You got to get, your feet dirty. You got to get, make this mistake and have this person yell at you. But that constant pounding and that constant fire and heating up will turn you into a precise instrument, will turn you into a great pilot, With precision, you'll be able to make decisions. You'll be able to talk to ATC. You'll be able to talk on the radio. You'll be able to flight plan. You'll be able to do all these things with such precision, it will blow your own mind. I'm not at that level. I feel like I'm still in the fire, or maybe coming out of it personally. And that's just how I feel about myself personally. But I've been through the fire a few times. I've been through quite a lot of things that tested me, made me want to quit, and made me just feel completely down and beat up. And so I just want to share that analogy with you guys. Remember that you have to go through the fire. You have to get, beat up and just, go through that process. It is a process. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. To become such a fine instrument with such precision, cut through, all those things, just like a sword. So remember that. If you want to make a sword, you got to put metal in the fire, and that's how it works. So I want to share that with you guys, and I think that's relevant to talking on the radio and to talking to ATC, because it feels like you're in a fire when you're brand new, or you haven't flown for a while. You're a rusty pilot. It feels that way. Okay, so let's talk about some more overcoming fear of talking to ATC. So what are some practical applications to remember? Well, first of all, you're talking to another human. You're not alone. I have had the privilege of talking to, ATC controllers and stuff, and joking with them on the radio, professionally. And they're just another person. They're just another human. In my opinion, if you take away all the training and you take away the environment and you take away all that stuff, it's almost like you're talking to somebody or at a grocery store. You're having a conversation with somebody who's ringing up your items. It's just a conversation between two human beings, between two people. They make mistakes, you make mistakes. They're human, you're human. Remember that. It sounds silly and it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. If you understand humans and you understand how people work, how people think, you will really understand your job a little bit better, because you're talking to another human. People are, for the most part, are good and will be willing to reason with you. If you make a mistake, you apologize. All the things we've talked about so far, they're human. It's just another person. He's sitting in a tower getting paid to do a job just like you. And if we remember that, and we don't think he's some, cop or some authority figure or whatever that is that you want to, we kind of put ATC in our heads as, if you get rid of that, and it's not some guy, not some, like a judge in a courthouse. What a great example. A judge in a courthouse with a hammer, right? ATC. That's the image we pilots create for that controller. That's not fair to that controller. By any means, that's not fair to them. They are not like that. They have to do their job so that way you can do your job. And you're just two people having a conversation doing your job. So just remember that. They're just another person, just another human, just like you. And like I said, ATC's job is to help you do your job. I can't stress that enough. Their job, they come in, they clock in, and they, hey Mike, sorry, I just saw that you have to go. I do apologize that I will get your question. I'm going to answer it. Make sure that you come back and check it out. Or if you can come back again, please do. Thank you for stopping by, and thank you for asking that question. I promise I'll get it. I'll talk about it in the live stream. Thanks for coming by, Mike, and have a good one. All right. Continuing on, I interrupted myself. ATC's job is to help you do yours. So they clock in, they come in, they do their job. They have bosses, they have subordinates, they have everything that you have, just in a different environment. So just remember, they want to help you do your job well. They want you to be the best at what you're doing. And if you remember that, if you remember they're there for help, then it does help take away some of the intimidation. It helps build up your own confidence, because you know that you can talk to another human being who has had issues with something in the past, and they've learned from it, and they have experience now. And you can say, hey, I'm a brand new pilot and I'm having trouble with this. Could you help me out, or something? And their job is to make you do your job or help you do your job better. And so just remember that they're not an authority figure that's going to, you know, they're kind of an authority figure because they have different rules and stuff, but they are not a judge sitting behind a giant desk with a gavel. All right, remember that. They are another part of aviation, and they're helping you do your job well, and they want to do their job well. And if they have a bunch of pilots who are having a bunch of mistakes and things are going bad, then they're going to go home that day and feel like I failed at my job today because all these pilots were having all these problems and it just was chaos. I didn't do my job well, and then they want to do their job better. So just think about that. Remember that they're humans sitting in a tower just doing a job. That's it. That's really it. That's as far as it goes. Okay, so another practical application is to listen to ATC.com, but specifically your ground frequency. I'm gonna combine these two together and practice craft. Okay, so what is ATClive.com if you've never heard of it? Here's a screenshot of ATClive.net. Sorry, .net. What it is, it's a website that you can listen to real-time communication and frequencies all across the world, and you can listen to pilots and you can listen to controllers. If you look in this example, this is just a screenshot of liveatc.net, and I typed in on the left here where it says airport ARTCC code. I just typed in KLAS, which is Las Vegas in Nevada, which is where I started listening to really learn. And you can go, and there's like 7 or 8 different frequencies here. Here you can see Los Angeles approach for final, approach from the northeast, and you can scroll down, and you can go. And the one that and there's a frequency there too if you have a handheld radio you want to listen to. By the way, speaking of that, if you guys haven't, sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent. If you guys haven't seen my handheld radio review, I'm going to link that up on the card. You guys can click on it. You'll see it pop up here on the replay. Check that out if you're interested in buying a handheld radio to listen to ATC and to listen to radio. So anyways, let me go back to that website. You can click on any one of these that say listen. You can click on it and you can listen to the communication, real-time communication between that controller and then the pilots. And you can do that from your computer. And to me, that's just awesome. That's awesome that you have that tool. It's a tool for you to use to get better, to practice. And what I recommend, this is what I did when I was first trying to learn instrument. I went on that website and I went to the ground frequency on a cloudy day or a day that I knew it was going to be IFR. And I got a sheet out, I have a piece of paper. I don't have one prepared, but anyways, you should be familiar with craft. If you're an instrument pilot, CRAFT. Your clearance, your radio, your approach, your frequency. I'm sorry, I totally messed that up. I totally messed that up. All right, let me do that again. I was thinking all about radios. Your clearance, your route, your altitude. Wow, I butchered that. Your frequency and your transponder code, CRAFT. So what I recommend you do is get on there and listen to the ground frequency specifically on an IFR day, on a cloudy day, and then listen to somebody getting their clearance. And you'll hear, like, I don't know, Delta, blah, blah, blah. You're cleared to the Las Vegas VOR, and then, just you take your route, and they might give it a published route, altitude, climb to 3,000, and then on course, your frequency is 128.7 and the squawk 1277, whatever. Just an example. But anyways, take your pen out, write down craft, listen to it at your computer when you're by yourself. You're not on, you're not at the flight school. You're not being charged by the school for the time and the plane. All that stuff, all that stuff is gone. All that chaos is aside. And write down that exact clearance. Write it down as you hear it. Okay? And then when you're done writing it down, continue to listen, and listen to the pilot of that airplane repeat it back. But maybe in your head, kind of try and repeat it back before him, or try and repeat it back with him. And just kind of on your sheet of paper, just look, okay, I got it. Oop, I missed the altitude. All right, let's do it again. or I got the altitude wrong. And then you can also practice your shorthand. If you haven't heard of this, basically your shorthand is your craft, you're writing this down, and for your clearance, let's say for your altitude, instead of writing flight level 3,000 or 30,500, you just write FL35. That's shorthand. You just make it shorter so you can write it down quicker, and then you can get through the clearance faster. So I recommend that 100% to do that when you're starting to learn, or maybe you haven't been an instrument in a while. You want to get back into it. This is a good technique. Go to liveatc.net, and here it is again. Go in there, click on a frequency, and just practice listening. And of course, you'll hear all different kinds of things. You might even hear, they even have some audio archives that you might be able to listen to, and just continue to practice, get those frequencies, listen, and that'll also help you learn the language and the flow, because it's so important. If you listen to that, it's so fast. This controller says this, and this pilot says this, and it's like, boom. They have this weird conversation in 20 seconds, and you're just sitting there like, what did I just hear? What was that? It's ridiculous. Over time, listening to it over and over and over and over again, you'll get better at it, you'll understand it, and then you'll be impressed because you'll be able to regurgitate the same thing, and somebody will look at you like, what was that? And then you'll laugh because you remember you used to feel that way. So I hope that helps you, writing down craft, or even just listening to entering in the traffic pattern. Even you can listen to weather on there as well, so you can practice your shorthand for writing down your ATIS information and all that stuff, which is a good thing to do anyways when you're flying. Have your ATIS information ready to go, so that way when you talk to your controller, you tell them I have information Zulu, and then they're good to go. So I recommend that. I hope that helps you guys. It's something that I did when I first started learning how to talk on the radio. Okay, some of you are probably asking yourselves, what is that last line? Like, really? Buy some donuts? What is that? If you are a coworker of mine, you'll understand this very well. Buy some donuts. What does that have to do with talking to ATC? Well, people love donuts. Am I wrong? And you know who else loves donuts? ATC controllers. I'm not kidding. I learned this technique from the company that I work for. Go visit the tower. Go see them. Go talk to them. Call them up and say, hey, I'd like to come by and see your facility. I'm a student pilot. I'm flying with blah, blah, blah flight school on the field. Would love to come by and just talk to you guys. And maybe, see the tower, whatever it is. How many of you actually been in a tower? I've been in a tower because I brought some donuts. and I want to encourage you guys to do it too, because it works. Let me know in the comments. Tell me about your tower story. Mine was pretty funny. But so yeah, buy some donuts, right? Let's say they tell you, yeah, come by at 3 o'clock. That's a good time. Go buy some donuts. And then go knock on the door. In fact, they have a little buzzer. Or call them and say, hey, I'm here. My name is blah, blah, blah. And they'll know you're coming. Go up there, walk up the stairs, and then just check it out. And it is a cool place. And of course, hey, I brought you guys some donuts from, blah, blah, blah store down there. And they're going to be like, oh, yeah, awesome. Because, they're stuck in that tower. They're sitting there for the entire day. And, of course, they have lunch breaks and stuff. But somebody brings them donuts, man, that's gold. That's awesome. Like, okay, yeah, I'll take some donuts. How would you like if you're flying, right, and somebody delivered some donuts to you in between flights or something? You'd be happy. You'd be really happy. So I recommend that. Grab some donuts. Go visit the tower. But not only that are you going to, get to see the tower. You'll get to see the operation. But the value that you get out of that meeting is so powerful, because what happens is you get to see how things work. You get to put a face to the voice that you hear on the radio. That's important, because it helps establish that, hey, it's just another human being. It's another person. And you will, next time you get on the radio, you'll remember their face, right? That's good. It's good. It's human interaction. It's how we communicate. We are creatures. We're social creatures. And so it helps us do our job better if we communicate better. So I recommend that. But then also, you'll get to see the environment. You'll get to see the airport. You'll get to see your flight school, or your company, and you'll get to see it from the way they see it. And trust me, that's huge. When you're in the traffic pattern, things start getting crazy. You'll think about you'll hear their voice, and your mind will put a picture to that voice of a guy sitting in a chair looking outside of this class with a donut in his hand. And it'll help you with the intimidation. It'll help you remember, like I said, they're just a person, and you'll be more confident. You'll be able to do your job a little bit better. So buy some donuts and go visit the tower. And trust me, it is huge. It is a great thing to do. Don't miss out on that. You will learn so much, and you will really open your eyes to their world, and you'll see what they go through. And it's awesome. It's a cool job what they do. So I wanted to recommend that. Okay. All right. So let's talk real quick about the channel. I want to encourage you guys to stop by as much as you possibly can for these live streams, but also I'm going to be scheduling, or I'm going to continue to schedule to have 7 p.m. videos are going to post on Tuesdays. I've had kind of a little break here. It's been kind of crazy. Been trying to work some stuff behind the scenes to try and get a different flow, and it's kind of delayed some things. No big deal. You guys don't have to worry about that. But I want you guys to know that I'm going to continue to post on the channel Tuesdays at 7 p.m. So I want you guys to, come by. If you're interested, please come by, leave a comment, like, and share, and then subscribe to the channel. Let me know. You guys have been kind of talking to me a little bit back and forth on Instagram and on Facebook, and I love having conversations with you guys. I'll get to your comments if you have a question, anything like that, on a Sunday or something. Hit me up, and if I can't answer it right then, I will answer it. I'll find the answer, and I'll try to help you out. That's why I'm here, man. I want to help other pilots succeed, because we're kind of up against a lot of stuff with the 1,500-hour rule and the pilot shortage and everything that's crazy. And these airlines are hiring, but it's like, I'm not there yet. I don't have enough hours, but I don't want to miss the window. It's just madness. It's just crazy. So if I can help 1 or 2 pilots out, that's what I'd want to do. And I want to encourage them to become, banner pilots if you're interested. You can ferry airplanes. You could get into ag flying, which is something that I might talk about on the channel in the future. Those kinds of things. So that's what I do here. So, all right, let's do some Q&A. And let me pop over to the chat real quick and answer Mike's question. If you guys are still watching, feel free to ask a question. Feel free to jump in and throw a question in the live chat there, and we'll talk about it. So, getting to Mike's question here, he said, using flight following when flying cross country helps out a lot with practicing ATC comms. How often do you talk with approach when you're towing banners? Great question, Mike. Really, really great question. I definitely want to say thank you. I'm going to read the other thing here. Got to go. I have a flight student in a bit. Be sure to watch the Q&A recording later, though. Thanks for your live stream. Of course. Thank you, Mike, for coming by. I really appreciate you coming by. So to answer his question, let me just say flight following is an amazing tool. It really is. Especially when you're in a place where it is super condensed, where there's tons and tons and tons of airports and crazy congested airspace. You want an example? Look at Miami. Miami is nuts. There is a Bravo, 1 Charlie, maybe 2 Charlies, I can't remember off the top of my head, and like 3 or 4 Deltas, all in this one little space. And it's insane. It's crazy. So when you depart and you ask for flight following, if you're not familiar with flight following, basically ATC will put you on radar contact, which means they can watch you, and they will give you a squawk code. They'll say 0211. You put that in your transponder, and then they will track you. Excuse me. They will track you, and they will give you separation clearance. If there's another airplane at your 2 o'clock and he's kind of going to veer off to your right, they'll tell you about it. And if you're going to a specific location, they will give you that that tool that will give you that service, as long as, you know, all the airports that you go through have that flight following. They'll give you that service all the way. So if you want to go from Miami to Jacksonville, and you know you're on a flight plan, and you want flight following, just ask, hey man, can I get flight following to Jacksonville? And they'll say sure. And then as you cross over, you know, and out of their airspace, they'll hand you off to the next controller, and they already have all your information. You don't have to tell them your tail number, or you do have to tell them your tail number, but you don't have to tell them what you're doing. You just call them up and say, you know, 77 Kilo is, you know, with you at blah, 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 whatever. Oh, okay, yeah, just continue on, radar contact, blah, blah, blah. So flight following is a great tool. Don't be scared of it. Don't be intimidated by it. It will help you out, and it will give you a four-dimensional view, in a way, of other planes and other traffic in the area to make it safer, so that way you don't have any kind of mid-air collisions or anything bad like that. So highly recommend flight following, and it's great for cross-country, as Mike said here. And it is great for practicing ATC comms, 100%. He asked, how often do you talk with approach when towing banners? This is gonna probably shock you guys, but almost every day. Almost every day I am talking to ATC. I have been in more airspace since I started towing banners than I've ever been in my entire pilot career, which surprises me to this day still. Anytime I'm near a delta and I need to go through a delta going from like this location to this location along the beach, and there's a delta that crosses over the water, I just ask, you know, I'll get on the radio and I'll say, hey, blah, 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 would like to transition your airspace from west to east and at 700 feet or whatever. And sure, they'll say, yeah, you're cleared into the delta, which don't forget, when they say your tail number, you're already good to go for the delta. So if they say blah, 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 stand by, if they don't say stay out of the delta, you're still good to go into the delta, because they said your tail number. What does it say in the regs? Two-way radio communication. What signifies two-way radio communication? Them repeating your tail number. So just remember that. But also, if they tell you don't go in the delta, then don't go in the delta, right? Listen to what they say and respect what they say. But anyways, got off on a tangent there. I'm in deltas all the time. All the time I'm in deltas with banner towing. Whenever I go to New York and whenever I go to LA and even Miami, most of the time I'm in Charlies and Bravos, believe it or not, as a banner pilot. Like, this is one of the oldest forms of flying. Picking up a sign and towing it across the city that says, will you marry me? Or, you know, hey, go to this burger place, whatever it is. One of the oldest forms of advertisement, and one of the oldest jobs, in my opinion, in this industry. And you would think, oh, you're just in class golf, you're just on the beach, or you're out here and you're not talking to anybody, and you're just don't even have a radio, and you're, you know, flying with the goggles and the leather hat. It's so, you know, it's ridiculous. That's not true, man. I am in class Bravos all the time. I'm in class Deltas, and I'm in class Charlies. The only airspace I never go into is Alpha, you know, or Echo above Alpha, up to 60,000. So that's the only airspace I'm not in. I've also been, no, not gonna tell you guys that. I got a huge surprise for you guys coming up soon. Some crazy airspace that I was in. I can't wait to tell you guys. I'm not gonna spoil that just yet, but I'm gonna have a video coming up that's about airspace as a banner pilot, and I think you guys are gonna like it. It excites me when I think about it, and it's something I never thought would happen as a banner pilot. So stay tuned to the channel for that. But yeah, for example, this weekend I was in New York and I was towing for the Jets game, and I'm actually, you guys will see soon, I'm doing a video where I tow for the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium. Let me talk about that instead. The Eagles Stadium is right up against the approach end of the runway there at the International Airport in the class Bravo. But in order to get into the Bravo to tow around the stadium, I have to call them up when I'm by the city. And so I call them up and I ask, hey, can I circle the stadium, left-hand turns for, I don't know, an hour or something? And they'll say, yeah, you're cleared into the Bravo. As a banner pilot, you're cleared into the Bravo. You know, stay north of approach 1.5 or whatever it is. I can't remember off the top of my head. And so I just follow their instructions. And the whole time I'm in there, I'm listening to, all these airline pilots. I'm listening to, citations and, Airbuses and all these different big airplanes that fly for the major airlines. I'm listening to that the whole time. And then it's kind of funny, cracks me up, not to get off on a crazy tangent, but they will warn, this is so funny to me, they will warn the, 747 getting ready to take off of a banner pilot flying over the stadium. And that just cracks me up because I know that pilot, that captain's like, oh, like that has anything to do with me. I don't care. He's probably, or even better, maybe he said, I remember those days when I was a banner pilot, when I got all those hours. So that always cracks me up when I hear them talking to the big airplanes, to the big airlines, to the 40-year captains about this little banner pilot who's flying around the Eagles Stadium. Just gives me joy, cracks me up. So yeah, to answer your question, Mike, I am in airspace all the time. I'm going in and out of deltas. I'm going in and out of uncontrolled airports. I'm going in and out of Charlies. The example that I told you about earlier where I busted the inner circle, that was a Bravo. I think it was a Bravo. It might have been a Charlie. I can't remember. But I'm in and out of Charlies. I'm in and out of Bravos. It's great. I've gotten so much experience and so much time talking to ATC at this job, a banner pilot, than ever. Even more than when I was in school for my ratings. So it's great. Not only are you towing banners, not only are you, I'm a huge advocate for banner towing, if you guys haven't figured that out yet. Not only are you towing banners, not only are you seeing the world and the country, well, maybe not the world. Okay, I haven't left the country as a banner pilot yet, but not only am I seeing the country and gaining hours and doing a crazy, awesome, fun job, but I'm also learning and I'm growing as a pilot and I'm talking to ATC and I'm getting better on the radio and I'm dealing with different people in their jobs when it comes to aviation. And so that really is important to me because I don't want to become stale. I don't want to just, whatever, if I ever want to move into something else, which don't think I will, but I don't want to become stale. And so I stay on top of it. I stay sharp like that sword by talking to ATC and by being in class Bravos where there's a stadium, where there's a football game about to happen, those kinds of things. So yeah, that's that. So Mike, thank you again for that question. It looks like you were the only person to ask a question tonight, which is fine. No big deal. This live stream will be up for people to ask more questions afterwards. Excuse me. If you're watching this on the replay and you want to ask a question, just go into the comments below and post your question and I will see it and I'll respond to you and we'll have a conversation. So, yeah, okay, cool. All right, so now I just want to quickly thank all of you who might be watching who are in aviation, but you're not a pilot. That is really important to me because you honestly, sorry, I'm trying to switch the screen. Okay, oops, that's not right. Hang on a sec. There we go. All right. You're not a pilot, right? You're an ATC controller if you're listening to this stream, or you are thinking about being a pilot, or you are, let's say, working, like one of my good friends, he works for a company that issues avgas to pilots and to planes. He's also a pilot, but if you're not a pilot, you're in aviation. I just want to give you guys a special thank you for doing your job in such a great way and coming to work every day and working hard and busting your butts, because it makes my job doable and it makes it a little bit easier. When you guys work hard for us, it really is appreciated. And I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think you get enough credit. So ATC, thank you for everything that you do. FAA, I thank you guys because you're helping us all stay safe. People who are on the ground issuing fuel. I've done that job. I did that job for several years. I know it's a tough job. The weather comes, it gets, hot, or it's really, really cold and you don't want to go outside because it's miserable. But you still do it because you know that pilot needs to get home to his family, whatever it is. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very much for what the job you guys do. It makes our lives so much better. And, you know, the people on the ground are really, really helping us pilots do our job well. So a special thank you to ATC, to ground, ground workers, ground controllers. You guys are awesome. Just remember that. You guys are awesome. All right, so I have a question for you. Actually, I have two questions for you now as we get close here. What has been your biggest struggle for talking on the radio? Of all the things we've talked about, what has been the biggest struggle for you? Have you struggled having time to learn how to do instrument when it comes to like radio communications, getting clearances, learning different departure procedures, stars and SIDS and all those things? Excuse me. Has that been your struggle? Has it been your struggle to just learn the traffic pattern, go in and out of downwind and base and final? Has that been your struggle? What has it been? Let me know below. I want to talk to you guys. I want to have a conversation. I want to interact because I want to help you guys. I feel like we should share information with each other and become better and grow as pilots. And if we can continue to learn every single day, we can become better pilots. So tell me, what's been your biggest struggle? And then on the flip side of this training, what tip was a clear method for you? Of all the things that we talked about so far, what tip stood out to you the most? What tip was like, hey, I've never thought about that? Or, oh, that's cool, I didn't think about that. Oh, hey, I didn't know about live ATC. That's really cool, I'm going to check that out. Just tell me, in this presentation, what stood out to you the most and what's going to help you? That'll make me feel good that I was able to help you. And then I can also, share that with other people and say, hey, this person learned this tip. You should try it too. So if you guys can do that, I would really appreciate that. That would be great. So, okay, so that's going to about close it out. I just want to say thank you again for being here. Thank you for being here on the replay. If you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing. Like and share with your friends. And what I want to say is I really want to encourage you guys to get better. I want to encourage you guys to work harder, to continue to study, continue to grow, and continue to become great pilots. Okay? And I really want to say that to you because I believe in you. I really do. You guys are a great audience. You guys have been here for a while. I'm going to continue posting. I'm going to continue being here and helping you guys, and we're going to show you some really cool banner towing. We'll show you picking up the banners, towing them around cool cities. I want to show you guys the country. I want to show you all these cool places that I've been. Maybe you'll be excited. Maybe you'll want to become a banner pilot. I would love that. That would make me feel awesome that you decided to pick that route. Just remember, you don't have to be a flight instructor. If you want to teach, go for it. Don't squash your dreams. Go for what you want. But if you're trying to get into the airlines or you're trying to become, a specific, in a specific industry, if you're trying to become a pilot in a specific part of the industry, consider banner towing. It really is great. You can get some good hours, work for great companies. And so just wanted you to know that. So, all right. Thank you guys for being here. If you guys want to see another video, I'm going to have a video pop up right here. Check that video out right there if you want to see another video. And then if you haven't seen the Richard Russell crash video, it's going to pop up right here somewhere. Click on that video. Check out the video I talked about with Richard Russell, and we can talk about how the stolen airplane affected him, all that good stuff. So thank you guys for being here. Have a great night. Fly safe and fly that airplane to the finish every single time. Have a good one, guys.